Okay. I'm sure, because we're starting early, try not to be distracted if other people walk in, but we are going to reward you for being early, for being on time. So happy Tuesday. Super excited for what we're going to share with you tonight, because you're going to learn some great stuff. You're going to learn some things that will definitely help you with your health, not just for now to sail through the holidays, because this is the time where most people just go off the rails with their health. You got Thanksgiving, with all the food that we eat there, then we have, all the parties moving into Christmas, and so it's just no wonder December is the #1 time where people get admitted to the hospital with heart attacks, sudden death, and suicides, and it's just a terrible time. It's the worst of times, but it's also the best of times. So, hey Randy, come on in. We got a warm seat for you. And so, at any rate, this is where we're at now. So tonight we have our gut-brain connection, and then next month we have weight loss. So that's a post-holiday favorite for most people, right, Peter? So well placed, yes. All right, so tonight with the gut-brain connection, you're going to see a lot of different conditions and different problems that people suffer with, and you may find yourself in some of these issues as far as the gut-brain goes. But autoimmune disorders, I'm going to give you a better understanding of this, because 50 million Americans deal with this, and there's been a 300% increase over the last several decades with this. And interestingly enough, the majority are who? Women. Yeah. So 100 billion spent every year. When it comes to autoimmune diseases, you may not know this, but there's over 100 different types of autoimmune disorders, with the brain, thyroid, your skeletal system, the muscles, the skin, the lungs, the nerves, the gastrointestinal, and also the blood. And so all these different diseases that people get treated for using what? Just medications and different tests, and then more medications and tests, and very little time is spent looking at the cause, the source, and the root, which we're going to discover tonight. Why is driven very heavily by the gut. Anxiety, very, very common, right? Driven by gut-brain dysfunction. Most common mental illness in the United States, 40 million adults, 9 million kids, 42 billion a year. Anxiety is just a word that rolls easy off our tongue, but it's a real condition that people are debilitated by. Depression is a close second. Also, the linkage with gut-brain, you're going to learn tonight where that comes from. But a lot of research is showing the connection now, and depression is the main cause of why someone dies from suicide every 12 minutes. Look at how many children, 1 out of 33 kids, 1 out of 8 adolescents. And so it's a serious thing, especially if, it just keeps getting worse. And what do they do with depression and anxiety? They don't correct the cause. Once somebody goes on medication for those things, how long are they usually on that for? For the rest of their lives. And I don't know if you've seen what I've seen, but I mean, when people are medicated for this, there's side effects that go with that. There's weight gain, there's diabetes, the increase of cancer, and a lot of different things like that. Hey, David. So, there's got to be a better way. And, the hope tonight is to, pull the layers back, uncover the source of where a lot of these issues come from, very easily correctable. So, gut-brain connection, we're going to see the disorders start with a genetic predisposition. This is where most research is pointing to. There's genetics, there's a genetic component, but there's also an environmental component. There are stressors in our environment that pull the trigger. Genetics may give you a predisposition, but it's not your destiny. Like, everybody's got genes that predispose them to diabetes or cancer or liver problems or this or that, but there are environmental stressors that actually pull the trigger to that. And so when that happens, and then we have the microbiome, which is the gut, the internal part, the mucosal lining inside, which is depleted, which is affected, which becomes dysfunctional. What can cause all that? C-section, starting at birth. Antibiotics, which most of us, if not all of us in this room, have been subjected to in childhood, if not adulthood, for different infections. Drugs, poor diet, stress, alcohol, and altered vagal tone, which we're going to talk about. So these are all causative factors. These are things that start the gut dysfunction. Is everybody with me so far? And this is what causes the condition called leaky gut. Everyone say leaky gut.
Leaky gut.
Leaky gut. So everybody's heard of leaky gut, but not everybody really has clarity on exactly what it is, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. Now, the interesting thing is when you deal with leaky gut long enough, you eventually get something called leaky brain, because once the gut starts leaking, it breaches the blood-brain barrier, and it causes inflammation, and your brain is affected. You get autoimmune problems, fatigue, brain fog, allergies, inflammation on the brain. So we start to get into much deeper conditions of deteriorating health also. So it's not just your gut. Your gut affects your brain and vice versa. Does that make sense? So I want you to listen to this.
So you think you're human? There's 7 billion people on this planet. You know how many microbes there are? 5 nonillion. 5 nonillion. That's the number of stars in the universe multiplied by 5 million. That's a lot of bacteria. And they're everywhere. They're on this floor, they're in your kitchen sink, they're on your chair, they're on your coffee cup. And yes, they're on you. You harbor 100 trillion bacteria in and on your body right now. That's only 1,000 times the number of individuals on this planet. And if you look at it in terms of cells, you are outnumbered 10 to 1. You are not human. You are a walking bacterial colony.
Didn't know that. We don't normally think of that, but are bacteria important? Yeah. So there has to be a good balance of that bacteria starting in your gut. And when we put things in there, and we have different elements that reach in there and wreak havoc, and it upsets that, you're disrupting the universe that exists inside of you that literally defines your health. So here's a kind of a picture of how this happens. The gut microbiome. Have you heard that word before? Microbiome. Don't let it intimidate you. But the microbiome is basically the environment that exists at the level of the mucosal cells inside your intestines. You have your small intestines, you have your large intestines, and you have all these cells that line the intestines. Are you with me? Okay, so normally, you see where that arrow is? In between those cells, there's a tight junction, and that tight junction is there. They're very close together to what? To protect the blood barrier that's right lining under those cells there, so that it doesn't let the harmful elements affect it. All right, so what are the harmful elements? You got poor diet, an acidic diet, you've got antibiotics, infections, different medications, alcohol, toxins, stress. All of these things create a disruption, an irritation, and it causes inflammation at the level of those cells. And once they become inflamed, what happens from there is it affects the junctions in between, it opens them up, and then what happens? All those things now start to affect the blood. Do you want toxins in your bloodstream? Does that sound like a good idea? No. Alcohol, infections, viruses, all coming in contact with your bloodstream. Does that sound healthy? No. So this is where we start having the origin of many of the conditions that start right down here. You see it when it breaches the blood-brain barrier, we have inflammation, it can trigger autoimmune problems and nutritional deficiencies. So, John, come on in. We got a warm seat for you. You can't stand the whole time, come on. So, good man. So look at this. 80% of your immune system is where? In your gut. So if your gut's not healthy, what can that lead to? Chronic colds, flus, infections, increasing your risk of cancer. Serious thing. Yeah. And what can possibly do this when we start seeing things like pounding the sugar for the holidays, overeating, toxins, sugar, and then all the stress that goes with that, that's depleting this, that's affecting this. 90% of serotonin originates in the gut. Serotonin, what is that? It's the neurotransmitter that gives you the happy, well-being feeling, right? Feel-good feeling, yeah. And if that feel-good feeling is not there, what kind of feeling do you have? Depression, yeah. Anxiety, yeah. Which is why we're seeing, all these statistics skyrocket in the last few decades. So, big connection here in the gut. Dysbiosis, which means an imbalance or an unhealthy environment, it increases the stress, cortisol, and provokes inflammation. Cortisol is that hormone that actually gives you energy in the morning, which you need. But too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So when you're stressed all the time and that cortisol is constantly going up, you may have learned before that causes weight gain, but it also causes inflammation, right? And this is what drives every chronic disease that we're dealing with these days, that we're medicating for, from your heart disease to your diabetes to your cancer, Alzheimer's, all these things. Communication with your gut-brain axis is both directions. Your gut communicates with your brain, and your brain communicates with your gut. Works both ways. So ultimately, it has that connection is served by something called the vagus nerve. Everybody say vagus. Vagus. Where does that word come from? It's Latin, and it means wanderer. So it's the main nerve that branches off the upper part of your neck, goes down and touches and controls every organ in your body, including the connection with your gut, your hormones, your immune system, your metabolism, all of that. So that's your vagus nerve right there. Can everybody see that? So that's important. Once things start going badly, these are the signs that we look for when we start getting closer to a diagnosis with leaky gut. If you have bloating, gas, cramps, food allergies, irritable bowel disorder, irritable bowel syndrome, hormonal issues like painful menses, fibroid tumors, polycystic ovarian syndrome, that's all the female conditions that go with that. Thyroid problems, joint pain, skin conditions, these are all the result of leaky gut syndrome. Did you know that? And then we talked about leaky brain. Again, if you're breaching the blood-brain barrier and that inflammation starts getting through your bloodstream and gets into your brain fog, fatigue, fibromyalgia, mood issues, anxiety and depression, neurodevelopmental issues, autoimmune diseases. So it's starting to make sense, isn't it? Really. And so the question, maybe you're starting to think about right now is, what kind of attention should I be giving my gut? Like, can I improve my gut? Like, what do I eat? What can I do better to actually start healing this? Because I would venture to say if you look at these symptoms right here, probably everybody in the room has at least one or more of these. That's what it's so common. It's almost like normal that we think it's normal these days. Foods that cause leaky gut. Sugar and what? Artificial sweeteners? Yes. In many ways, they're worse than sugar. They're toxic. It's created in a lab. Your body doesn't know what to do with that. Refined vegetable oils. What's wrong with that? Highly inflammatory. Highly inflammatory to the gut mucosa. GMO foods. What's GMO? Genetically modified. Yeah. And what do they use for that? Something called glyphosate. Anybody heard of that word before? Glyphosate. It's the active ingredient in Roundup. Does that sound like something good to go into your gut? Yeah. Definitely a catalyst for sickness and disease. Lots of lawsuits going on with that right now. But where do they use glyphosate mostly? What's the application used? The majority on corn and soy. Corn and soy. And we're finding that in our food everywhere. And what do they feed the farm animals with? Corn, grain, yeah. And so we're on the other end of that food chain. So we're getting that. And this is, again, what's driving a lot of the inflammatory conditions which wind up in our gut. Gluten in most grains. There you have it. Grains. Unless you're buying organic, non-GMO, then you're getting this. And then conventional meat, what's the issue with that? What are they feeding the cows, the pigs, the chickens, the fish? They're feeding it with grain, GMO. Dairy, the same thing. So it's all coming through our food sources, causing inflammatory issues at the level of the gut. Tap water, pesticides, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, antibiotics, skin, hair, and cleaning products. What does that all encompass? Under one topic right there, it's all toxins, In fact, most of that list right there, you can classify under what? Toxins. Yeah. We live in a toxic soup. All right, it's our environment is really, the question really for us is not if we're toxic, the question is how toxic are we? And your body has all these different mechanisms to detoxify, right? But for most of us, the problem is, when we have more coming in than going out, that's where we start to have the symptoms. Yes? You have a question? How does intermittent fasting help when somebody's toxic? That's a good question. There's not much in terms of what the body is doing to detoxify during intermittent fasting. It's really more of a metabolic improvement that's occurring during intermittent fasting. If anything, there's more energy that's probably being conserved for other healthy processes in the body when you do intermittent fasting. But as far as something intentional coming out of that for detoxification, I'm not sure there's much of a connection there directly. Hopefully that helps there.
What's refined vegetable oil?
What's that? You just walked in. You're not allowed to ask questions. You can't do that. You sit there a little while. You will earn your right. No, I'm just kidding. What did you want to know? What did you want to know?
Refined vegetable oil.
Okay, highly inflammatory. So, refined.
What are they? Mainly.
Yeah, I mean corn oil,
Vegetable
canola.
oil?
Yeah, vegetable oil. Yeah.
What about?
What's it basically what they're selling in the stores.
Well, what are all the healthy oils
Yeah.
that you
Olive oil, coconut oil,
Yeah, so we'll
avocado oil.
Okay.
all there you go. So let's go with this. What can help to heal the leaky gut? All the problems that we've learned about up to this point. Bone broth, raw, cultured, organic dairy. So we see kefir, yogurt, butter, raw cheeses. Fermented is the operative word there. Fermented vegetables right below there you see. Apple cider vinegar.
Like kimchi is good.
Yeah, kimchi is good. Yeah. Sauerkrauts, pickles, kimchi. Yeah. So anything fermented.
I'm having trouble with the connection. Please try again later.
You're talking to
Hey, the more distractions, the better. It just helps me focus. So, coconut products. These are good, healthy fats, right? Good, healthy fats help with healing and repair in the gut. Sprouted seeds, good, healthy fats there. Flax, chia, hemp seed. Organic, grass-fed beef and lamb. Why is that important? The grass-fed beef and lamb.
that way they're not eating the.
Very good. They're not eating the GMO. Everybody got that?
And they're wild.
Excellent. They're wild.
They're only eating the-
That's right. I know some wild people here tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wild caught salmon. Wild caught salmon. Again, because if you go to these fish farms, they're eating grain, they're eating corn. So wild caught salmon, we're looking for good fats.
Question
And yes,
about the cheese and the yogurt, isn't that inflammatory?
no. If it's cultured, if it's raw, if it's fermented, then it's good. Yeah. So
I don't know. So
yeah.
what are raw cheeses?
so you have to go over to Publix and look at where the raw cheeses are.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're on the subject of good fats. Good fats. Just remember this, guys. Good fats don't cause you to get fat. They help you to burn fat. It's metabolically something that helps your body improve itself. It gets you into fat burning, but also the good fats are necessary for healing and repair. It's good for every cell. Every cell membrane in your body is made up of fat. So, when we do the finger prick blood test and we're checking the omega-3, many of you have had that done, we're looking for the EPA levels. How much good fat do you have, or is there a deficiency? And this is really important. So you want to make sure that you're having these good fats, and for purposes of our talk tonight, you can see it's foundational for helping your body function and heal at a basic cellular level. We just happen to be talking about the mucosal cells in your intestines. So the EPA, how many of you guys have the EPA? Okay, so EPA it's something that you should be taking every single day, because very few of us probably have enough of these good fats in our diet. And really the only way you would know is by having that omega-3 test. And if you want more information on that, ask me on your next visit. But the EPA fish oil capsules, you want to be taking those on some kind of regular basis until you get tested and you know whether you're getting enough or whether you're deficient. Framingham Heart Study shows the highest level of fish consumption had 50% less Alzheimer's rate. And this has a lot to do with what we're talking about tonight, because inflammation of your gut leads to inflammation of your what? Of your brain. So the EPA, the good healthy fats, helps the brain, and it protects it, and it helps to shut down inflammation. There was a study, and I wanted to share with you here, 485 people ages 55 and over, those who took the supplements for 6 months demonstrated significant improvements in their memory and learning. So this is a real thing, and it's an easy thing. And I highly recommend that you have some sort of regiment that you make sure that you're getting this, in addition to obviously the good food choices that we're talking about. Here's another important supplement. Everything I'm sharing with you guys tonight, I don't just recommend it, I actually take it myself on a daily basis. I wake up in the morning, I have one EPA in the morning, I have one EPA at night, breakfast and dinner. This is where I split my dosages. With the probiotics, I'll take one of these in the morning with breakfast. And the reason why is because it's got the good bacteria, the beneficial bacteria, which helps to support normal gut, like the microbiome, and the health of those cells. So, if you don't have something, as far as focusing on all of these good food choices that we talked about, at a very basic level, this is something that could plug a lot of the leaky holes in your bucket. So I won't go a day without taking this. I'm going away this weekend and I already packed all my supplements. Even when I'm out of town, I'll make sure I take one of these every day. There's a 2-week trial. They did this study recently, it was this year. Probiotics versus a placebo. They did a 2-week trial study, Leiden University. Results, they found the participants who took it had lower anxiety, lower stress, and less fatigue. Everything that we're talking about tonight, right? So we know for a fact that the probiotics, when you're getting a lot of this, it supports your gut health, it reduces your risk of cancer, colds, flus, it supports your immune system, less anxiety, less stress. Why? Because, again, your gut, we're talking about 80% of that is where the serotonin comes from. And it helps with your body's absorption of nutrients, and also for bowel movement regularity. Anybody has issues with constipation, diarrhea? Again, you see a difference when you take this. So if you don't have anything like this, highly recommended, super easy. And Ultrabugs curcumin is another supplement which is anti-inflammatory in nature, which also will help with healing of the intestinal mucosa. It's curcumin, which is the Indian spice turmeric. However, it's highly concentrated dosages. I always, I hear people from time to time saying, yeah, I get turmeric. I put it in my food, I cook with it. And I'm like, that's great. However, it doesn't really do anything to move the needle, so to speak, in terms of healing. Why? You need concentrated dosages of this. There's a difference between sprinkling on it in your food and cooking with it and having a mega dose, which has an anti-inflammatory effect, a clinical outcome that can actually get you the result that you're looking for. And that's why this is important. When we do something in our office called the C-reactive protein test, some of you guys have had that, it's the leading marker for systemic inflammation. And the only time that you will ever have that done outside this office is, God forbid, if you're having a heart attack. They'll do that in the hospital. That's how they diagnose damage to the cardiac tissue, C-reactive protein. That's what your heart gives off. But also, you can detect systemic inflammation using this marker. And we use a finger prick blood test for that also. And when that comes back off the charts, guess what we give people? This. Yeah. We give a couple of capsules of this a day and the EPA, and all of a sudden it goes away. So that's why I'm putting this on here. It's a powerful systemic anti-inflammatory. Helps to heal the gut, among other things, the brain. It attacks amyloid plaques, which is, you know the cause of Alzheimer's disease. It destroys cancer stem cells. So very powerful. Okay, and the last thing I want to go through here with the supplement support is something else that I take every day. This is something called Complete Clean. It's basically a shake. You get a scoop, 2 scoops. It gives you 26 grams of protein. It's almost like a meal replacement. And it's got a full spectrum of multivitamin here. Basically every vitamin except vitamin D, just because of shelf life not working with everything else in here. But on top of that, I circled that there so you can see the N-acetylcysteine. N-acetylcysteine is the precursor for glutathione, which is the master antioxidant inside your body, which helps your body detoxify. Okay. So we're talking about something important here tonight in terms of toxins being the overwhelming majority cause of what? Leaky gut, yeah, and leaky brain and all the autoimmune disorders and anxiety and depression and all that. So this is a low-level detox. It has a low-level detox component in it. It's not a treatment for any of these diseases, but it is something that's important in addition to all the other antioxidants and all the other ingredients in here. I just like at every workshop there's something different that we talk about, and what you're going to notice is you're going to see this pop up so many times because you can kill so many birds with one stone, so to speak, with this. So a lot of people use it as a meal replacement. I have patients who, they'll have this instead of breakfast. Months go by, you're down 5, 10, 15 pounds, if that's what you're looking to do. But at the very least, it's a multi-nutrient resource that will help you with your health on so many different levels. But as far as what we're talking about tonight, it definitely serves its purpose here. So at the workshops, we always give you the discount, the 15% off. We only discount supplements at the workshop. It's the only time that we'll ever do that. And it's our way of helping you make application with what you're learning. And, a small reward for being here tonight. Show our appreciation. But you take advantage of that. It's up to you. We don't keep a whole lot in stock on the shelves. So, if we have it here tonight, you're more than welcome to get it. But these do work. They're very effective. And as far as clinical outcome, that's the most important thing. Does everybody know people who take supplements? Yeah. You know what? In many, many cases, it turns out to be expensive urine. Why is that? Because it goes right through you, and you really don't know if it's doing what it's supposed to do. This is why we do the testing that we do in this office. We don't guess, we test, so that we make sure that whatever you're spending the money on, you're getting something out of it. You're not just guessing. It's one thing to just have a placebo effect and feel good and feel smart that you're doing something for your health. Yes, that's a good place to start. But make sure that you actually have the evidence behind it. And so everything I'm presenting here tonight, I guarantee you it will move the needle for you. So Toxicity is, these three things, basically. This is what it comes down to that you really need to focus on. These are the most harmful in terms of inflammation to your body and your brain. Lead, mercury, and pesticides. These are the most harmful out of all of them. According to our EPA, your indoor environment is 2 to 5 times more toxic than your outdoor environment. Did you know that? Starting with cosmetics. All right, yeah. Just 900 of the chemicals used in cosmetics are known as toxins. Now, particularly with lipsticks, we find lead. Most of the lipsticks that are sold carry lead burden. And then we have lead in our water supply. You might be told otherwise, but it's there, and it's a problem. And then we have more heavy metals in the form of mercury. Yep, fillings. If you have amalgam fillings, that's 50% metallic mercury. And when you brush your teeth, when you have a dental cleaning, when you have hot beverages like coffee or tea, it vaporizes that mercury. And the more amalgam fillings that you have, the more mercury vapor you have in your brain. And it doesn't come out unless you specifically utilize something to get it out. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. There's mercury thimerosal in the childhood shots, and not just for our children and grandchildren, but we all participated in that also. Now, when we were younger, we only got 4 or 5 shots. Today, the kids get in the neighborhood of 70 to 80 shots. Yeah, and I thank God that we have Kennedy, what's his first name? Robert Kennedy, yeah, because they're starting to make changes. They have new people on the committee, and they're starting to revamp, and they're implementing changes to follow other third world countries, second world countries that have a less aggressive vaccine schedule, and their children grow up with far fewer health problems. So it's starting to move in that direction, which I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, but I've talked about this for decades. So you have that thimerosal and flu shots, and it's just, the problem is it goes in and it doesn't come out. Formaldehyde in our mattresses, our pillows. We have biotoxins like mold. A lot of us have that in our homes. Prescription drugs. We have sodium lauryl sulfate in the toothpaste and the soaps. Aluminum in a lot of our deodorants. A lot of people don't know this. So it's not the outdoor environment, it's the what? The indoor environment, yeah. And so when all this starts building up, remember I said, your body knows how to detox at some level, but when you're just getting bombarded, when you're swimming in this, and more is going in than coming out, then we start to have these symptoms. We start to have fatigue, we start to have brain fog, we start to have depression, anxiety, memory loss. And this is where you start considering, maybe I should look into this a little bit more closely. We have all these different detox people that you see on the internet, on YouTube, or different hallelujah diets, and Daniel cleanses and 7-day cleanses and all this stuff like that. And those are all nice, but it really only works at the level of your stomach or your colon. It never really gets to the deeper recesses where you're internally in your cells or your brain. And this is the most important part that gets overlooked when people just do like a cleanse. A cleanse is different from an intensive detoxification program, and I know this firsthand because I've done many of them, and there is a difference. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you this with the glyphosate application. If you didn't know this, the correlation to deaths from senile dementia. When they started applying the glyphosate in the late 90s, over 2 decades, you can see the application of the glyphosate, right, on the corn and soy is the yellow, and then the red line correlates with the deaths per 100,000 of senile dementia. It's almost an exact correlation when they started applying the glyphosate to the crops. So this is MIT research that was published, and this is why you're seeing all these lawsuits now. It's a given. So In our office, Peter, you're finishing yours right now. Some of you guys have done this. I do this at least once a year. It's a 90-day detox program. And, you know, we've done other programs in the past where, you know, you take some detox pills and then you have this activated charcoal, which is supposed to, you know, pull it out of your poop. But, you know, when you go to the bathroom, it's supposed to pull it. Did not work. We had a lot of bad reactions. It was too much for people to handle. Start detoxing right away before you prepare your body to detox. Imagine this. You have all these toxins that your body knows are in there, and what it does is it sequesters it. It sequesters it with fat, sequesters it in your thyroid. Your body knows how to protect itself. So it locks these toxins away in the cells to protect the rest of the body from it. Then all of a sudden you go in and you start poking the bear and you release these toxins. What happens? It creates an inflammatory response. Has anybody here ever had the flu? Yeah? And your back aches, or you had a virus, your neck, your back hurts, everything, that's cause of what? Inflammation. It's not a good strategy to detox like that. Just rip it out. It's not good, it's not healthy. And I don't wish that on anyone, because I felt like that. It was like walking around like bricks in my shoes. It was horrible. So we found a better way. We found this. You take 1 month to prepare your body for detox. It prepares all the downstream pathways, your lymphatic system, your gut. It prepares your kidneys, your liver. It helps to heal the cells. And it helps to heal the mucosal cells inside your gut. And it actually helps your body heal and get healthy to prepare it to actually handle the toxins getting out. So that's the first stage. That's the first 90 days. And then after that, now you're ready to detox. Now you start detoxing the cells of the body. And there's a pressure gradient that's set up inside from the constituents in there. And it actually starts moving those toxins out of the cells and then into the downstream pathways, right? Through your lymphatic system, through your digestive system. And then there are activated charcoal pills which pick it up inside your colon. And it mops up all those toxins, and then you have a bowel movement and you get rid of it. And then after you do that for 30 days, then you're ready to detox the brain. And this is where the magic happens. And so when we do this, it actually enables us to cross the blood-brain barrier and pull the toxins out of the brain. And there's a special liquid that we have that binds to these toxins that helps to shuttle it out. And then again, capture it in the stomach, mop it up, and get it out. So this is something that I've been using here in our office for almost 10 years now. And normally I'll do it every year or two myself, just to make sure I'm staying on top of it. And I'll tell you what, when you get done with this, it's like, you know, you can operate with the lights kind of dim, but then when you get healthy, it's like, wow, I didn't know there was such a big difference in how I could feel. Your eyes get brighter, your energy is off the charts, you're getting up before your alarm goes off. Not to mention, you know, a lot of other improvements that we see with it. But where do you start with this? How do you know if you're a candidate, if it's something that you really need? You start with the tests. Remember I said, it's not if you're toxic, the question is how toxic are you? And we do have some tests that can tell. When you're toxic, one of the things that affects is the optic nerve. Toxins affect the optic nerve. So there's a visual contrast sensitivity test that we use. Almost like when you go to the doctor and they check your eyes. But this has different lines. And at a certain point, if you're toxic, your optic nerve cannot tell where these lines are. So we put this card here, and Deborah has you read off all the lines, which way they're going. And if you can do it, you're in good shape. If you can't see the lines, you may see some of them, but there are other lines that you can't. It'll tell us. Is it general toxicity? Is it biotoxicity? Heavy metals? Whatever it is. and it allows us to get an indication of what kind of challenges that you may be dealing with. That's one. Here's the other one. It's something called meta-oxy test. Go into the bathroom, a little bit of urine in the cup, we mix it with a reagent, and then we look at the shade of red. And this shows the amount of cellular inflammation that's going on in your body. Why? What causes cellular inflammation? Toxins, right? So, again, highly diagnostic of this. This is the only test that really measures definitively cellular inflammation. If this test costed $1,000, it would be worth it because it shows us cause. And we do these tests in the beginning to diagnose if you actually have this problem, if you really need to do it, and if you're a candidate and you do want to do it or you do need to do it. Deborah can go over the results with you, and she'll show you how the program works. As far as the detox part, these are supplements. They're pre-packaged, super easy. You can take them to work with you. There's morning and evening packets, and then we'll go through the whole thing with you. It's very simple. It's not complicated at all. It's super simple. But then after you do your prep phase, you get tested again so that you can see the improvement. We do the VCS and this. Then after you go through the body phase, we test you again. And after you go through the brain phase, we test you one more time. So it's no different than the care that we give you here in the office. We take care of you for a little while, and then what do? We do a progress evaluation, right? We want to hear you're feeling better, but you want to see the evidence of the physical improvement. So that's what it looks like. So I want to give you a little background on this because there are some of you in this room who really need to do this. You really should be considering it if you've never done it before. And otherwise, you got to think like, what's your health going to look like 10 years from now? You look at all the people around us now that we pray for and we have to take care of with dementia and full-blown Alzheimer's disease at 70, 80 years old. This really needs to be our biggest consideration. What is your health going to look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And if you're toxic and you may be eating good and exercising and doing all these things, but if your body's harboring toxins and ultimately they're going to be affecting your brain and other areas of health, increasing your risk of cancer, increasing your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's, wouldn't you want to know about that? If there was something that you could do about that now, wouldn't you want to know about that? So that's why I would encourage you. If you want to look into the testing, ask Deborah. She'll make an appointment for you. Normally the testing is $397 for the workshop tonight. We do that for only $97, so it's discounted for the workshop. She can make an appointment. She'll do the testing, and then if it looks like you need the program, she'll go from there and tell you all about that. Okay, so let's take a brief break so I can catch my breath, and I want you guys to stand up, take a load off your bottom there, and turn to the neighbor on your right. And go ahead and put your stuff down there, Peter. Go ahead. So put your hands on their shoulders, the right side. There you go. Put your hands on their shoulders, and I want you to squeeze. Squeeze. Wake up your neighbor. Wake up your neighbor. We still got a few minutes left. All right, karate chop. Very nice. Good. Doesn't that feel good? Yeah. Judith likes it hard. Turn around. Love your other neighbor. Show him, Judith. Show him. There you go. All right. Karate chop. Karate chop. Are you guys awake now? All right. I got a few more minutes left. Good. Okay. Have a seat. And yeah. So. Okay. Just want to recognize a couple of people here, and this Deborah and Tamara here, so that must mean it's pretty important. Coming to crash the party. Okay, so the first one is, first award we want to recognize one for perfect adjustment attendance. And this is important to us because, you know, we're partners on your healing. And we love to see your commitment, and then you follow through on your commitment, and you keep all your appointments, and you get great results. We celebrate that. And we want to honor that. So for perfect adjustment attendance, this award goes to Ruth Knowles. Everybody give her a big round of applause. Excellent, excellent. Look at that. Wearing it well. I love it. Okay, and the next one is for, this is our Elevation Health Core 4 degree. Elevation Health University. Did you know that you're at Elevation Health University right now? So it's Core 4 degree is awarded to John Patrick for 6 or more workshops. Everybody give a big hand. Yeah? Well done, my friend. Well done. Yes. Yeah, so I mean that's what people do. You keep coming to the workshops, you keep learning, you keep growing, you're always learning stuff, and that's what I love about John. He just always looking to learn. And you listen, when I grew up, I want to be like him. You know, and he's as fit as he is at his age, he's still learning to do better with his health. That's amazing, isn't it? So, okay. So let's finish up here and look and learn about the autonomic nervous system and how this connects the brain to the gut and the gut to the brain. That's your autonomic nervous system. Raise your hand if you've seen that picture before. Okay, we should have all seen that long before you came to my office. You should have seen that in your medical doctor's office. Your autonomic nervous system is what runs everything beyond your conscious control. And so you have a sympathetic part of it, which are all the yellow nerves that emanate off of the spine there. Can everybody see that? And so the sympathetic is the fight or flight. And when that's overactive, these are the problems that develop health-wise. Poor sleep, insomnia, irritability, anxiety, fibromyalgia, excessive sweating, manic, focus, ADHD problems, neurodevelopmental disorders, and diarrhea and irritable bowel syndrome. Now, what can drive sympathetic? The sympathetic part of the nervous system. The fight or flight. Stress, very good, yeah. Stress. Raise your hand if you don't have any stress. Nobody has stress, right? So this is the majority of people walking planet Earth are in sympathetic overdrive. 75% of all heart attacks occur when people are in sympathetic overdrive. And most people just live their life, and then they try to control it with medications, or you're short on sleep, and then you're amped up on caffeine all the time, and it just makes it worse and worse. Subluxation, there's all types of issues that complicate this. But then on the other side, you also have the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. This is the part of the nervous system that slows everything down, your respiration, your digestion, your blood pressure. But if this becomes underactive, then we see things like depression, hormonal issues, thyroid problems, chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, immunocompromise, which means weak immune system, brain fog, memory loss, mood issues, autoimmune diseases, and constipation. So it's like a seesaw. But at some point, if you don't have balance in your autonomic immune system, then your body cannot adapt to its environment. It cannot adapt to stress efficiently, so you're more likely to succumb to health conditions. Right? So this is really important. So you have to have good autonomic balance if you're going to have a healthy future. If you want to stay out of doctor's offices, off medication, out of hospitals, what do you have to have? Good autonomic balance. Are you with me? So what can cause autonomic imbalance? Well, we said stress. Stress, what does it do? And the research now here shows, don't pay too much attention to that diagram, but it shows you how the brain affects the adrenal glands, right? It drives adrenal glands. That's a good one. And so when you're driving the adrenal glands, it increases what? Cortisol. And if it increases cortisol, it's disrupting the gut lining because it's driving inflammation. And that cascades into all types of different health problems, all originating from what? Stress. Yeah, because of the brain-gut connection and the gut-brain connection. There's a feedback loop which connects all these different aspects of your nervous system. what else can cause autonomic imbalance? Something called altered vagal tone. We talked about the vagus nerve, right? But nerves are like guitar strings. They have tone to them, right? That's a good analogy, right? I was playing my guitar earlier today before I came in. And so you have to have those strings wound just right in order to have the right tone. Now, the tone of the vagus nerve can change, and it can alter your autonomic balance if the tone of the vagus nerve is off. And if it's off, it can cause diarrhea, constipation, anxiety, depression, autoimmune problems if you have altered vagal tone. Does that make sense? This is research that's coming out of all different medical fields from many different countries around the world. They're showing cardiac autonomic dysfunction in patients with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and sudden death risk. Here's another one, autonomic dysfunction in what? Multiple sclerosis. Here's another one, autonomic dysfunction in Alzheimer's disease. They're finding a link with every disease almost known to mankind in autonomic dysfunction. That's interesting, isn't it? So the vagus nerve connects the brain to your digestive system and really overrides the tone of the vagus nerve. It overrides the communication with everything. So the tone of the vagus nerve is really what's going to be involved with what you're looking at here and how well the connection is going to be served between the brain and the gut. So the Journal of Physiology, another medical journal, they said, given its position as key element of the autonomic nervous system in the brain-gut interactions, the vagus nerve seems to be a good therapeutic target in what? Inflammatory conditions, right? Of the digestive tract, rheumatoid arthritis, and other diseases. This is from a medical journal. Here's another medical journal from Internal Medicine. This doctor writes, correction of chronic inflammation using nerve stimulators might prevent progression of debilitating and deadly diseases. So what he was talking about and what they published in this study was using these thing called the vagal nerve stimulators. So basically they implant that into a person's neck to stimulate the vagus nerve, right? This is cutting edge science that they understand is involved at the origin of these diseases. And they're using surgery to change the tone of the vagus nerve. Are you with me so far? This is important because it can be improved without surgery. And if we can do that, then the next question is, how? Right? Yeah. 10 ways to improve your vagal tone. Positive social relationships. What do you think being cooped up for COVID did for your vagus nerve, the tone of your vagus nerve, right? Look at what everyone was dealing with. Depression and anxiety, led to drinking, led to all types of problems. Other ways to improve your vagal tone: cold, gargling, singing, chanting, humming. Wow. Huh. You ever done that before? Wow. Something relaxing about that, isn't it? Massage, laughter, yoga, tai chi, deep breathing, right? Focusing on the exhalation. Like when you do a brisk walk, if you're doing a brisk walk, John, you focus on your breathing. So you inhale maybe to a count of 4, but you exhale to a count of 6 or 7, focusing more on the exhalation. And that helps with relaxing the tone of the vagus nerve. Exercise, obviously. And then number 10 is what? Chiropractic. Now, how the heck does chiropractic connect with this? What does that have to do with it? Well, studies have been done on this. They show a healthy autonomic nervous system balance after the correction of vertebral subluxation. What is vertebral subluxation? It's a blown out of alignment in your neck or your back that's interfering with the nerve control. So this was published in the Journal of Chiropractic Medicine. Neck adjustments had a parasympathetic, a vagal effect. Does anybody ever feel relaxed after they get adjusted? They get up off the table, they feel a little more relaxed. Well, here's why. Because your blood pressure comes down just a little bit. It's a fact. Here.
High blood pressure, it affects millions of people. In fact, 1 out of every 3 Americans. And if left untreated, it can be deadly. Most people take medication to control it. But as Kate Merrill shows us, some patients have found a simple way to keep their numbers down without drugs.
The mad dash to get the kids to school, the crazy commute, and especially work. It's enough to raise anyone's blood pressure.
We work on deadlines, and with all the law changes, which keeps me in business, but keeps us also pretty stressed out.
Soon, that pressure from running his Cambridge accounting firm began to take a toll on Adrian Kaspar. He was forced to go on medication to control his blood pressure.
I believe in not taking medication, but blood pressure you don't fool around with. I just have you sit right here.
That's why he came here to Dr. Peter Martoni, a Linfield chiropractor, who's using a new adjustment in the neck to help bring down blood pressure.
Now, if a bone is out of alignment and putting pressure on a nerve, it interferes with the ability for the heart to function correctly.
In about 2 or 3 weeks, my blood pressure was normal.
Bill Bird of Stoneham sells cars, another stressful job. He was also on blood pressure medication. After a few visits to Dr. Martoni, his doctor cut his medication in half.
Another 30 to 45 days, my blood pressure staying at the levels it is, I'm going to be off at 100%.
This treatment is experimental at this point, but studies show it might actually work.
This is a very novel concept.
Dr. George Bakris is an expert in high blood pressure. He's conducted a small, carefully controlled study with some of his patients at the University of Chicago Medical School. He sent them to a chiropractor for the same adjustment Dr. Martoni uses.
We saw miraculous changes in blood pressure. We're seeing 12, 13 millimeter reductions in blood pressure.
The results were dramatic enough to catch the attention of the federal government. The National Institutes of Health is now funding a larger study to see if they can duplicate the findings.
So, it's the top bone of the neck. What's the top bone of the neck called? The atlas. Atlas, yes. And so the atlas sits right up under the skull. And then you see the red arrows there point to the vagus nerve. Now, if you have an atlas subluxation, a couple of things can happen. You have the vertebro-basilar arteries that actually run through the side of the atlas to bring blood supply to the brain. So it can cause dizziness, it could cause headaches, cause a lot of different things just from that. But then if that atlas is out of alignment in a particular way for a particular amount of time, it can make contact with the vagus nerve and affect the tone of the vagus nerve. It's in close proximity to the atlas. It can cause TMJ, it can cause a lot of problems. In fact, most of the nerve fibers that are in the brainstem that run through that atlas, there's very little room in there for that misalignment. So it's a very small bone. There's no disc above and there's no disc below it. There's discs basically between every bone in your back, right? But atlas, the space between the skull and the atlas and between the atlas and the second vertebrae, there's no disc, it's only ligaments. And so, we get yanked out of the birth canal, right? That causes subluxation, that causes ligament damage, like literally the minute that we're born. We have all types of injuries as kids. Thousands of times we fall learning to walk. And, falling off of bikes, off of swings, out of trees and stuff like that as we're kids. Damage to the atlas, damage to the ligaments. We have fender benders or, some of us more serious car accidents. Damage to the ligaments, instability in the atlas, right? Then as time goes on, we start seeing it. Our neck starts hurting. We can't turn our neck. It becomes evident, but we don't really think about like, hey, what set this in motion? And for most of us, it's been there most of our lives. So imagine if your parents knew this and they took you to a chiropractor as a child. How would your life be different? How would your life be different? How many fewer medications would you be on? How many fewer health problems would you have? How much less degeneration in your spine would you have? Good concept. Now go home and tell your children to bring their kids to chiropractors. That's what you should be doing, right? I mean, I say it with, as much love as I could possibly say it, because I speak from experience, All my kids have been getting adjusted since the day they were born because this is a real thing. We live on planet Earth, And people are subluxated, whether they feel it or not. And the earlier you get checked, the better your prognosis is. There were 1,250 infants evaluated during the first 5 days of life in this study, a medical study. They found that what percent? 90% suffered birth trauma and strain through the neck and cranial areas, with 10% suffering from severe trauma. When they pull a baby out of, whether it's a C-section or out of the birth canal, mother's laying on her back. It's going to cause stress, as opposed to a woman being in the squatting position, right? When gravity pulls the baby out. They've been doing that for yeah. Well, yeah. In this position, that's the way it was designed to happen. So chiropractic can decrease inflammation. Did you know that when you get an adjustment, it actually helps to lower inflammation levels in your body? There's a study here that was shown to do that. We're going to pass on this for the sake of time. But side benefits, we don't say side effects. Like chiropractic adjustments don't have side effects like drugs. You know, like for every action, there's an opposite reaction with medications and things like that. But with chiropractic, you get side benefits, not side effects, side benefits. Besides you feeling and moving better, your reaction time is better, your overall athletic abilities are better, your information processing is better, your visual acuity is better, your muscle strength is better, your cardiovascular function is better, your range of motion is better, your respiration is better, your recovery time is better. Now, is it possible you understand why every NFL, NBA, and baseball team and Olympic athlete has a chiropractor? Not a one dozen. And I was doing it decades ago as a team chiropractor for the arena football team, the Florida Bobcats, and I adjusted them before the games for all of the aforementioned reasons. This is good stuff, isn't it? Yeah. You know, and all of you are getting the benefit of that with every adjustment. So reduces stress, reproductive hormones, endocrine function, reduced labor times. I know some of you guys don't want any more of that. But immune function, neurocognitive functions, general health of senior citizens. And this is what studies show. The longer you do this, the more apparent it will be. Like 10 years from now, if you're getting adjusted, you're still getting adjusted, and you have friends your age, you're going to look at how many more medications and how many more health problems and how many more doctors they're going to, and how seldom you are, relatively speaking. You're going to see that. I've been doing this for 32 years, 33 years. I used to brag about that when I was first in practice, and just from what I heard. But now I can show you the x-rays, I can show you the patients, and they can tell you themselves. It's a real thing. The longer you do it, the more side benefits you get, and the bigger the return on your investment. I've been getting adjusted for 40 years now. And so, my wish and my prayer is that you have the greatest quality of life that you could possibly ask for at your age with what you've got, And I'm always going to be here to give you 110%, as long as you're willing and able. So, did you learn something important tonight? Yes, you did, didn't you? What'd you learn about? What's that?
Gut brain.
You learned about the gut-brain connection. Very good, Jim. What else? What did you guys get out of this that you didn't know before?
How many of the things that we use as toxin for our bodies?
Yeah, toxins.
Things doing things. We know some of them, but
Yeah.
like you're saying, like cleaning products and your daily hygiene products and things like that.
All types of things flying under the radar. It's good. That's why every time you come back to the workshop, you're going to get something. Every time you come back. Now you can make application, right? And you learned about what's at the core of it all. What's dealing with all this to try to help save your life and to do the best it can under this onslaught of toxins that literally end your life early. What's at the center of all of that trying to save your life? It's your nervous system, right? It's your nervous system. Now, I would encourage you to eat good and exercise and detox and all those things. But if a person is subluxated, if they have nerve interference, all that's limited in capacity, and a lot of it for naught. unless you're getting adjusted. Now, you guys are getting adjusted. You have clarity in your nervous system. So you have the best possible advantage for your body to adapt and thrive and survive and heal when you give it the other things that it needs. And that's the most important thing. This is what people are missing out there, right? Proper nerve supply. They don't know. They don't know about subluxation. They think that they need a chiropractor only when their back hurts. We didn't talk about that tonight, did we? We talked about the nervous system. How many of you know people that have a nervous system? Yeah. Yeah. And how many of you guys know people that could probably use help with their nervous system? Yeah. The problem is, how do you explain it to them? It's hard. It's hard. You know, it's like sharing the gospel. Like, well, some of us are better at it than others. It's easier just sometimes to hand them a tract or just say, "Hey, come with me to church." You know, my pastor preaches really good. I want you to hear him. So, how can you share this with people, right? Bring them to a workshop. You know, bring them to a workshop, or whatever means necessary to encourage them. And you don't know how God's going to use it, but it will be used for good. But I would encourage you to do that. You know, if you can't bring them here, have me come to your place of work or worship or wherever. If there's a group of people, I'll go. I'll tell the story. You know, please, by all means, let me know. This is what I'm here for. And, that's really where my heart is going in this next year. You know, we need to get out in the community. We need to reach and teach more people where health comes from. Because everybody's looking at it, here and there from the outside in. And really, health, we know, comes from the what? The inside out. And we need to get the truth out. So, will you guys help me?
Yes.
I'm counting on you. So, I want you to think about that, and you let me know what we need to do. So that's it. So how do you make application with this? You got your core brain, the gut brain support supplements. If you want your discount tonight, go up front and get it. If you want your detox testing, ask them for help with that. They'll make you an appointment for that as well. And just make application with the information that you've got. So you guys have been great. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Bye.
Love and appreciate you. God bless.